I had a very interesting dream last night. I think interesting is a bit of an understatement. It was very interesting. It was very difficult too. Several hard, several themes came up. One, which was really surprising, it was like I was a white woman, um, Caucasian, feels like Australian or American, can't tell. And I was in a camp, a camp as in like either a refugee camp or a war camp, where we were preparing civilians to fight, sort of. But it was at the early days of preparatory phases, so it still felt festive. It still felt rah-rah and exciting. So I received 5 new volunteers. They were very young, young adults. I was more middle-aged, and they were very nice, very friendly. Spent a couple of days, and then before I knew it, in the scene, there were bumps, and so we were caught in some kind of air bomb strike. And from what I knew and what I felt was that these 5 young people who were put under my care died. And there was nothing I could do about it. If you were outside the building, the barracks, you're gonna be shot by the bombs that were falling from the plane. If you were inside the building, apparently there was some kind of acid, that was the word, no? Acid gas that was being released from the bombs, and you would die and suffocate. So both ways you're dead. It was a very hopeless situation. It was very like full of fear, and most of all for me, guilt, because I survived and my 5 young charges didn't. They were full of promise and gung-ho and hope, and there was none. So that was very sad, very, very sad. No idea where that came from. In another scene, very strange, all the flowers in the flower beds were dried. And I took a long hose of water and I was watering the plants like nobody's business. I was watering, watering, watering. There were people who were eating in the restaurants oblivious to the dried, parched soil in all the flower beds, in the pots. They were oblivious. Only I saw that. So I was like spraying water everywhere. And I even sprayed it on the people too. It was like, you guys need to be hydrated, including the flowers. And then the sunflowers grew. And people looked at me strange, like, what's this weirdo like spraying water everywhere? And as I did that, and I felt contented that the soil was saturated with water and hydrated, I felt like there was a space vessel, some sort, that opened up and I entered into it. It's like, okay, my job is done. Back to space. So I entered into the spaceship. I saw 2 people enter, and one of them was me, and I was the woman. And I was blonde, some kind of spacesuit, and I went in. It was very strange. It was a really weird dream. So all these different scenarios happened in the same night, like different segments, but there were like 3 stories separately. And finally, the last scenario was I dreamt of my childhood friend Stella. In fact, the name Stella comes up twice. I had another dream a few weeks ago about my friend Stella, but in fact it was my other friend. But I said, you look a lot like Stella. So the word Stella kept coming up. And so Stella in my dream, I knew her since we were very, very young. Since we were in primary 1, so I must have been 7. She's Eurasian, and I'm not, right? You can clearly tell. And I don't remember this, but she's my really good friend. I really like Stella. But in that dream, I was brought to some kind of scene where Stella had all the attention from all our friends. And she was giving attention to all the other girls except me. So I felt really left out. I felt really excluded. And Stella was getting all the attention, not me. And she was giving all the attention to the other girls and not me. I felt really jealous and really left out. And that might have been the case when I was young, because Eurasian girls know very pretty, they always get all the attention, and maybe I felt jealous. I could have. I really could have. So it brought up this, I'm like, wow. I saw myself feeling left out and feeling angry and feeling upset and animosity, and I'm like, that's really interesting. This jealousy is very hurting. To feel jealous to someone, to feel left out, to feel like you're not being loved, seeking validation from others, and not obviously not getting that validation because you're at the whim and mercy of someone else, is very painful. It's very hurting. And so I'm like, cool, interesting. Yeah. So I was seeking validation from Stella. I wanted Stella to look at me. I wanted people to look at me and not Stella. You know, that childhood 7-year-old me. And so probably that still remained, and it came up and surfaced in that dream to be processed and let go. So how, really? It's so interesting, but it's so easy to say this consciously, that we need to validate ourselves, we need to love ourselves and not seek external validations. But then with a dream, when you live that emotion, you go like, yeah, but we're still human, you know, we're still looking for being popular, to be, you know, to be included by others and to feel loved and appreciated. It's very much a human need. And there is this struggle to belong to a community, to belong and to feel loved by others, because then it feels like, oh, I'm doing a good job. Oh, I'm all right, you know? So I definitely acknowledge that. Acknowledge the pain that's associated with the emotion of jealousy and feeling isolated and excluded from the group, sort of. So yeah, these are all the strong emotions: fear, guilt, jealousy. Yeah. And then the good side also of watering the flowers, generosity, giving without asking. I was watering the flowers. I was not asking for people to look at me and say thank you. I was just watering. It was my own volition. I wanted to water. I wanted to give, you know, and I wasn't seeking anything. And I felt the person whom I was, that space person who was watering, I was doing it alone. I was doing it invisibly because people didn't notice that things were parched and dried up. I felt good, you know? So, very deep dream that I had last night. So yeah. Surprisingly, and maybe not surprisingly, I did a fascia release meditation the night before. So, like, before I slept, I did that meditation. It's basically a lot of deep breaths, consciously healing and releasing all the build up tension and negative emotions held up in the fascia. So I did that meditation and I was like, didn't feel anything, but you know, the dream came and it's like, okay, it's releasing. So that could also be it. Never know. So we are very spiritual, magical beings. It's a lot that's going on under the surface that we cannot logically explain. So yeah, whatever you can get out of it. I just wanted to share that experience and that dream with you. Trees in a circle. Bye.